But I really like the fact that, you know, the average Canadian at least tries to act polite in public because you're sort of expected to. There's this like unwritten rule in public where people have to at least act nice. How's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Vilma. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur and community leader, and my channel is dedicated to helping you thrive and succeed in life. And in today's video, I am talking about the reasons why I left the US and moved to Canada. In case you don't know, I lived in the US for almost 2 years. I actually did my first year and a bit actually of university, about a year and a half of university in the US, and then I moved to Canada, and I have been in Canada now for the past 10 years. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my experiences in the US and why I prefer living in Canada. I know a lot of Americans watch my channel and you're probably curious about immigrating to Canada and life in Canada. So yeah, let's break it down. But first of all, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel and share this video with a friend who's also curious about what life is like in Canada. Thanks for doing that, and let's get started. We can't talk about moving to Canada from the US without talking about immigration. I think Canada has a much smoother path to residency for immigrants compared to the US. You know, many of you watching probably know people who've been in the US for 10-15 years and are still not citizens. But I think in Canada, you know, you can live here for 3-4 years or something like that, and, you know, be in the process of becoming a permanent resident, which is really cool. You know, in 7 years or so time, you can become a citizen. There's just clear benchmarks and clear processes for you to attain citizenship, and that's the reason my family moved to Canada, and that's the reason I moved to Canada as well from the US, because there's just the at least hope that one day you can be a Canadian citizen, while I feel like in America the process of becoming a US citizen is a lot more complicated. One of the most important parts of living in Canada is the fact that our healthcare is free, maybe free, because we are obviously paying taxes, and it's not like healthcare is just kind of falling off the sky. We're paying for it in taxes, and then in turn our taxes go towards providing free universal health care for every Canadian citizen and resident. And obviously as an immigrant, that's a big deal because healthcare in the US is expensive. So in Canada right now, you can go to a walk-in clinic, you can go to an emergency room, you can get surgery, you can get all sorts of medical care, and you don't have to pay a single dollar. That's different if you're needing to see, that's different if you need to see the dentist, if you need to get a massage therapist and things like that. But for basic health care, you don't have to pay a dollar. The challenge is that Canada, as a small country, obviously doesn't have a lot of doctors, so sometimes you have to wait. If your medical procedure is not an emergency, you may have to wait a few weeks or a few months. So there is a line, and you can't really skip the line unless you are in an emergency. So that's the downside. But for the most part, people are happy with our healthcare system. You know, if it's an emergency, you can probably get surgery really quickly. If it's not an emergency, you have to wait. So yeah, I love the fact that we have affordable healthcare in this country. It is such a blessing. Related to healthcare, I love the fact that we have social protections. Obviously, I know in the US there's things like employment benefits and things like that, just like we have in Canada. But I think the fact that, you know, we have parental leave, that's a huge movement in the US, trying to get parental leave for moms and dads. We have mat leave here in Canada as well. If you have a child, you're not expected to come back to work immediately for most jobs. Especially if you work in the government in certain sectors, you can get up to a year off from work. And very importantly, there are protections, you know, for parents who have kids so they don't have to lose work, because obviously that's something that really disproportionately affects women. In the States, you probably know, many women lose their jobs when they either become pregnant or go away for a year or 6 months or however long for mat leave, because, you know, employers feel like woman is disposable if she's not at her job anymore. And in Canada, that is illegal. You cannot fire a woman just because she was away from work because she had a baby. There's, you know, rights and there's protections in place that protects women in that situation. And I mean, still, some employers in Canada still do that. However, there is, you know, a process where if a employer fires you for becoming pregnant, you know, you can go through a human rights process, you can sue and get money and all that stuff. So I think the fact that in Canada we're so much more ahead of the States in terms of really basic things like parental leave and maternity leave and things like that. Tuition is really affordable here in Canada as well, I think, compared to the United States. And also for international students, I think we just have much more affordable tuition, and you have such variety. I think when I was living in the US, you know, I went to school in North Dakota because it was super affordable, and that was still like $7,000-8,000, you know, per semester or something like that. But I think in Canada, affordable tuition could be a lot lower than that. I've made a few videos about, you know, affordable universities in Canada, and there are quite a few that you can go to. Obviously you may not be living in, you know, the most trendy city. You may be living in a small town in the middle of nowhere, but if your priority is education, it doesn't really matter what tiny rural town you live in for 4 years, you get your degree and then you can leave. But the most important part about why I moved to Canada is just the fact that, you know, tuition is pretty cool here. Many of you probably know that Canada is a friendly country. I think that's a stereotype of Canada, that, you know, we say please and we say sorry and we say about and things like that. But honestly, I think Canadians in general are just really polite people. That's just how it is here. I'm not really sure why it's that way. I mean, it's something that took me a while to get used to because I'm from Nigeria, and Nigerians are extra. Like, we are in your face, we're loud, we're boisterous and things like that. But in Canada, people are just a bit more chill. And I know compared to the US as well, Americans, y'all are loud. I feel like in terms of my personality, I'm maybe a bit more American than Canadian because I'm a bit louder, I'm a bit in your face, I don't say please and sorry for every little thing. But I really like the fact that, you know, the average Canadian at least tries to act polite in public because you're sort of expected to. There's this like unwritten rule in public where people have to at least act nice. So that's really wonderful. When I first moved to Canada, I was so confused. I'm like, why are all these random people talking to me on the bus? Why are they trying to make small talk and conversation about the weather? What's going on? And then you just realize that that's how it is in Canada. A lot of immigrants kind of struggle with that. So in Canada, you kind of have to be really good at making small talk. We love talking about the weather because, you know, it can be really cold here. So that's a really common go-to conversation. So yeah, living in Canada just means that you're living with people who are a bit more diplomatic than in the US, I think. And finally, I think in Canada, our politics is just a bit less crazy and in your face. I know Americans are obviously very proud of their politics and very proud of their government, and, you know, I love Canadian politics as well. But sometimes you look at the things that makes the news in Canada. Like a few weeks ago, people were talking about the fact that our Prime Minister's wife was offering free yoga classes to political staffers. You know, these are the types of conversations that make the news. If you look at a more municipal level, it's the same as well. So I think in Canada, because we're a small country, politics is just less crazy and not as divisive as in the US. And I think for a person who just wants peace of mind, living in Canada is definitely a good option for that. Let me know if you've moved from the US to Canada. What were your experiences? Do you like it? Do you want to move back to the US? How long have you been here? Let me know in the comments. And if you got questions for me about my experience here in Canada, let me know. I'd love to answer them in the comments, or join me in my Facebook group where I answer questions as well about life in Canada. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.